My name is Ethan Johnson. At 22, I was driven out of the Johnson family home by my biological parents. The reason was simple. I had made a move on Lucas Miller, their adopted son. That night, I saw with my own eyes Lucas Miller lying in my fiancée Sophia Taylor's bed. I stormed in fury, intent on beating that bastard to death. But the next second, I was pinned to the ground by the Johnson family's bodyguards. Lucas Miller straightened his clothes, his eyes full of smugness. "Ethan, who do you think you are? You're nothing but an abandoned baby who was picked up." "What?" I widened my eyes. Mom Amanda Johnson walked in, face icy cold. "Ethan, Lucas is right. You really were adopted by us from a charity adoption agency. The true bloodline of the Johnson family is Lucas Miller." My world collapsed. For more than 20 years, I had always thought I was a biological son of the Johnson family. I never expected that the real biological son would be that bastard Lucas Miller, and I was just a fake. My father, Daniel Johnson, also walked in. Looking at my disheveled state, there wasn't a trace of sympathy in his eyes. "From today on, you are to leave the Johnson family and never return. I'll give you $1 million, enough for the rest of your life." I was dragged out of the Johnson family's villa and thrown outside the gate. It was pouring that night. I was soaked through like a bereft dog. Lucas Miller stood at the window, holding my fiancée, Sophia Taylor, and gave me a mocking smile. From that day on, I began a life of hardship and wandering. The $1 million was quickly spent. I fell to the bottom, worked as a waiter, delivered takeout, and slept under bridges. 3 years later, I died tragically in a car accident. Before I died, I heard Lucas Miller's triumphant laughter. So the car accident had been arranged by him. He feared I would return to claim the Johnson family's wealth, so he had to have me dead. When I opened my eyes again, I was back at that rainy night when I was expelled from the Johnson family. Lucas Miller stood at the window again, holding Sophia Taylor, sneering at me. "Ethan, this is your end." But this time I did not despair. I slowly stood up and wiped the rain from my face. In this life, I will no longer be a pawn like I was in my last. I took out my phone and dialed a number. "Robert, it's me, Ethan." On the other end of the line came the voice of the Johnson family's eldest uncle, Robert Johnson. "Ethan, what's wrong? Your voice doesn't sound right." "Robert, I've been kicked out of the Johnson family." "What? Daniel, is your younger brother crazy?" I briefly explained what had happened. Robert Johnson was silent for a long time, then said, "Ethan, wait at the door. I'll come pick you up right now." Half an hour later, a black Mercedes stopped in front of the Johnson family residence. Robert Johnson got out of the car, and seeing me soaked through, a flash of anger crossed his eyes. "Beast," he cursed angrily. "Brother Daniel is really foolish." In my previous life, when I was desperate, I also thought about asking Robert for help. But back then, I was too proud to become a burden to others. This time, I won't make the same mistakes again. "Robert, I want to learn business from you." Robert Johnson was taken aback for a moment, then broke into a pleased smile. "Good. This should have happened a long time ago. Daniel and the others look down on you. Robert never will." I got into Robert's car and took one last look at the Johnson family's villa. Lucas Miller was still at the window, but this time I gave him a cold sneer. "Just wait, Lucas Miller. In this life, I will make you pay me back tenfold, 100-fold. Robert Johnson is the head of the Johnson family, but years ago he split off to start his own branch because his views clashed with his father, Daniel Johnson. His company isn't large, but it's fairly well known in the building materials industry. "Ethan, I won't make a fuss with your father's side for now," Robert said as he drove. "Let the Johnson family deal with their own affairs. What we need to do now is to grow and strengthen our business." I nodded. "Robert, I want to learn." In my previous life, after I was expelled from the Johnson family, because I had been pampered since childhood and didn't know how to do anything, I fell into that situation. This life, I have the advantage of rebirth, and I must not waste it. Robert lived in a duplex apartment in the west of the city. Though it couldn't compare to the Johnson family's villa, it was still spacious and comfortable. "Take a shower first, change into some clean clothes, then we'll talk," Robert said. After showering, I put on the clothes Robert had prepared and sat back down in the living room. "Ethan, have you really thought this through?" Robert asked me seriously. Doing business with Robert is not as easy as being a gentleman in the Johnson family. "I've thought it through," I said firmly. "This time, I don't want to rely on anyone." Robert nodded with satisfaction. "All right, starting tomorrow, come to the company. Start from the grassroots, learn gradually." Early the next morning, I followed Robert to the company. Robert Building Materials Company, Limited, with fewer than 50 employees, could hardly be called a large enterprise. But Robert ran the company in an orderly way, and everyone performed their duties. "Mr. Ethan is here." An employee saw me and greeted me warmly. Robert waved his hand. "Just call him Ethan from now on. He has to start from the ground up." I was assigned to the sales department and followed the senior salesperson Mike Peterson into the market. Mike Peterson was a man in his 40s who had worked in the building materials industry for more than 10 years. "Ethan, although you are the boss's nephew, I won't be polite to you for that. If you want to make a place for yourself in this business, you have to be able to endure hardship." I nodded. "Mr. Mike, just make the arrangements. I can endure hardship." My experiences in my previous life had already taught me what the hardships of life were. By comparison, doing sales was nothing. On the first day, Mike Peterson took me to 3 construction sites. Each site was filled with dust and deafening noise. We had to negotiate cooperation with the contractors, discussing the price and quality of cement and rebar. "Ethan, you look so fair-skinned. Can you handle this kind of environment?" a foreman asked with a smile. "No problem." I grabbed a handful of cement and examined its quality carefully. "This batch of cement is pretty good, but can we negotiate the price a bit?" The foreman froze for a moment, clearly not expecting me to answer that way. Mike Peterson was also a little surprised. By the end of the day, we had closed 2 small deals. Back at the office, Mike Peterson patted my shoulder. "Ethan, you're much stronger than I imagined. Many rich kids who come to places like ours can't even stay for 5 minutes." I smiled without saying anything. The hardships of my previous life are my most precious assets. I've endured these sufferings before, and I endured them even more harshly. That evening, back at Robert's house, I began to sort through the information I had gathered during the day. The conditions in the building materials market, the situation of major suppliers, and customers' needs and pain points. I recorded all of this in detail. Then I began analyzing market trends. The advantage of being reborn is that I know the direction in which the building materials industry will develop over the next few years. Eco-friendly building materials will become increasingly popular, and the profit margins of traditional building materials will be squeezed. New composite materials will become the market's new favorites. "Ethan, still studying?" Robert walked over holding a cup of tea. "Robert, I'm analyzing the market." I explained my thoughts. After hearing that, surprise showed in Robert's eyes. "Your thoughts make a lot of sense. However, investing in new materials requires a lot of capital, and our current funds may not be enough." "Robert, we can start as agents first," I said. "Find the right manufacturer and obtain the distribution rights. The initial investment is small, and the risk is also low." Robert pondered for a moment, then nodded. "This is a good idea. We'll start the research tomorrow." I looked out at the night view, thinking of the bright lights in the Johnson family's villa. "Lucas Miller, did you think you could sleep easy just by driving me away? Just you wait and see." The next day, Robert and I began researching the new building materials market. We first contacted several well-known, eco-friendly building materials manufacturers. One of them, a company called Green Tech Innovations, caught my attention. In my previous life, when I was struggling at the bottom, I had heard of this company. Their product quality was solid, but because they lacked sales channels, they had always developed slowly. But I knew that 3 years later, Green Tech Innovations would become the industry leader because of a technological breakthrough. Now is the best time for a partnership. "Robert, I think Green Tech Innovations deserves our close attention," I said. "Green Tech?" Robert frowned. "I've heard of them. Their products are good, but their marketing hasn't been great. Exactly why we have an opportunity," I analyzed. "They desperately need sales channels right now. Our terms shouldn't be hard to negotiate. Robert thought for a moment. Then let's go take a look. Green Tech Innovations is located in the city's development zone and is a medium-sized technology company. We were shown into a conference room and soon met the general manager, David Harris. David Harris is a man in his 40s who looked somewhat tired. Mr. Johnson, I've long heard of your great reputation, David Harris said politely. May I ask the purpose of your visit today? We want to learn more about your company's products and see if there's any possibility of cooperation. Robert got straight to the point. A glimmer of hope flashed in David Harris's eyes, but it quickly faded. Mr. Johnson, to be frank, our product quality is indeed good, but sales has always been our weak point. If you're interested in cooperating, our terms will be very favorable. I took the cue. Mr. David, could you let us see product samples? David Harris took us on a tour of the product showroom. Various new building materials were neatly arranged, from waterproofing materials to insulation boards, everything one could need. I carefully inspected several products. The quality is indeed very good, especially one new type of fireproof coating. I remember this will become a market bestseller in 3 years. Mr. David, this fireproof coating is very distinctive, I said, pointing at the sample. Yes, David Harris instantly perked up. This is our patented product. It reaches Class A fire resistance and is environmentally friendly and non-toxic. But, he sighed again, clients' acceptance of the new product is low, promotion is very difficult. Robert and I exchanged a look. Mr. David, if we're willing to take on exclusive distribution for this fireproof coating, what terms can you offer? Robert asked. Exclusive distribution? David Harris stood up excitedly. Mr. Johnson, are you serious? Of course I'm serious, I said, but we need exclusive distribution rights and a certain price advantage. After some negotiation, we finally reached an agreement. We obtained the city's exclusive distribution rights for Green Tech Innovations' 3 main products, priced 15% lower than comparable products on the market. In return, we pledged first-year sales of no less than $5 million. After signing the contract, David Harris shook Robert's hand firmly. Mr. Johnson, you really delivered help in our hour of need. We will do our utmost to cooperate, ensuring product quality and timely delivery. Back at the company, Robert excitedly patted my shoulder. Ethan, you have a really good eye. If this partnership goes through, our performance this year could at least double. I smiled. Robert, the key now is sales. I have a few ideas we can try. First, I suggest changing the traditional sales model. No longer just waiting for customers to come in, but taking the initiative and directly reaching target clients. Second, we should capitalize on the product's eco-friendly features and promote the concept of green building. This was still a relatively new idea at the time, but I knew it would soon become mainstream. Ethan, those ideas of yours are all good, Robert said, but our sales team is small. Then we'll hire, I said. I can lead the team and be in charge of this project. Robert nodded. All right, I'll approve the headcount and the budget for you. The next day, we began recruiting new salespeople. At the same time, I developed a detailed sales plan. First, start with several key projects to create model projects. Second, use the results of the model projects to expand publicity. Third, take orders in bulk to create economies of scale. Just as we were making intense preparations, unexpected news arrived. The Johnson family was bidding on a large commercial project that required a huge amount of building materials. Moreover, Lucas Miller was personally in charge of the project. Ethan, this is an opportunity, Robert said. If we land this contract, our reputation will skyrocket. I sneered coldly. Lucas Miller? Robert, let's go meet him. This time, I'm gonna let Lucas Miller see what real power looks like. The Johnson family's bidding meeting was arranged at a 5-star hotel in the city center. Robert and I arrived half an hour early, and the hotel lobby was already filled with many construction suppliers. Robert, what are you doing here? A familiar voice came, and I turned to see my father, Daniel Johnson, walking over. Behind him came Lucas Miller and several senior executives of the Johnson family. Daniel, second brother. Robert nodded lightly. I heard there's a big project. Came to take a look. Daniel Johnson's gaze landed on me, his expression complicated. Ethan is here too. I looked at him with no expression. Mr. Johnson. The form of address made Daniel Johnson pause slightly, but he soon regained his composure. Lucas Miller stepped forward, wearing a fake smile. Ethan, I didn't expect you'd get into the building materials business too. However, this industry is treacherous. Not just anyone can do it. I looked at him coldly. Is that so? Then I'd better learn. A trace of disdain flashed in Lucas Miller's eyes. Learning is a good thing. I'm just afraid you won't be able to pick it up. At that moment, the hotel staff began guiding everyone into the conference hall. The bidding meeting is about to begin. The conference hall was filled with people. Building material suppliers of all sizes had come. Lucas Miller, as a representative of the Johnson family, sat on the platform. Gentlemen, thank you all for attending today's bidding meeting. Lucas Miller stood up and began to introduce the project. This global plaza project has a total investment of $1.5 billion US, and the demand for building materials is very large. We hope to find high-quality partners to complete this project together. The building material suppliers in the audience listened attentively. This really is a major project. Whoever wins, it will have their performance for the year guaranteed. The bidding requirements are simple, Lucas Miller continued. Acceptable quality, reasonable price, timely delivery. The specific technical requirements are in the documents. I opened the bidding materials and examined them carefully. One item caught my eye. The project requires all building materials to meet the latest environmental standards, especially fireproof coatings, which must achieve a Class A fire rating. This is exactly Green Tech Innovation's product strength. Moreover, to my knowledge, there are very few manufacturers on the market capable of supplying class of fireproof coatings. We have a natural advantage. Robert, we have a shot. I whispered to Robert. Robert glanced at the materials and nodded. The bidding officially began, and each building materials supplier took the stage in turn to introduce their products and prices. The earlier company's products were fairly conventional. Although their prices were advantageous, they were lacking in environmental protection and fire resistance levels. When it was our turn, I stood up proactively. Everyone, I'm Ethan from Robert Building Materials. A murmur rose from the audience. Ethan? The Ethan from the Johnson family? Lucas Miller's expression instantly darkened. He obviously hadn't expected me to take the stage myself. Today, I will introduce our company's line of eco-friendly building materials. I began the presentation. Especially this fireproof coating. It's one of the few domestic products that can reach an A-level fire rating. I took out a sample and described the product's performance in detail. Moreover, our price is 15% lower than similar products, offering exceptional value for money. The builders in the audience all showed surprised expressions. Class of fireproof coating? And 15% cheaper? This is simply a dimensionality reduction strike. Lucas Miller's expression grew even uglier. He hadn't expected us to have such a trump card. Mr. Ethan, can you guarantee the truth of what you're saying? Lucas Miller provoked. Of course, I replied calmly. We have testing reports from national authoritative agencies. I took out the complete set of certification documents provided by Green Tech Innovations. Each one bore a bright red official seal, leaving no doubt as to their authority. Lucas Miller took the documents, examined them carefully, and his expression grew worse and worse. The information was genuine, and the product truly met A-level standards. Such a product was almost an overwhelming advantage in this project. Additionally, I continued, we can also offer a 3-year quality guarantee. If the product has quality problems, we will provide full compensation. As soon as these words were spoken, murmurs broke out in the audience. 3-year warranty? Full compensation? This promise is too bold, but also demonstrated our absolute confidence in the product's quality. Lucas Miller knew that, following the normal bid evaluation procedures, we stood a very good chance of winning. He had to find a way to stop it. Mr. Ethan, I have a question. Lucas Miller stood up. Your company isn't large. Can you guarantee supply for a project this big? This is a key issue. Indeed, Robert Building Materials is limited in scale. Taking on such a large project alone would be a stretch. But I had already prepared a countermeasure. This is a very good point, I said. We have already signed a strategic cooperation agreement with GreenTech Innovations. GreenTech Innovations is a well-known domestic manufacturer of eco-friendly building materials, and production capacity is absolutely no problem. Moreover, we can also mobilize resources from other partners to ensure timely delivery. Lucas Miller's face went completely dark. He knew that this time he had lost. The bid results have been announced, and our proposal won by an overwhelming margin. A $1.5 billion project with building materials accounting for about $300 million. We secured $150 million of that order. For Robert Building Materials, this is practically astronomical. Ethan, you're amazing. Robert was so excited he almost jumped up. With this project, our company's scale can expand tenfold. I'm happy too, but more of a vengeful satisfaction. Lucas Miller tried to thwart us with underhanded tactics, but it only made us shine even more. Now he must accept the outcome. After the meeting, Daniel Johnson came over. Ethan, congratulations. His tone was somewhat complicated. This project is indeed a good opportunity for you. I nodded slightly. Thank you for your recognition, Mr. Johnson. Daniel Johnson winced at that name, a flicker of pain crossing his eyes. Ethan, is something wrong? I interrupted him. If not, we'll be going now. Daniel Johnson parted his lips, but in the end said nothing. Lucas Miller watched us leave with a sullen face. Back at the company, the entire office was buzzing. When the employees heard we'd landed a $150 million deal, everyone was ecstatic. Long live Mr. Ethan. Our company is going to prosper. We must celebrate tonight. Robert immediately decided to give every employee a bonus and throw a celebration party. But I knew the real challenge was only just beginning. Getting the order was easy. Executing it well is the key. Robert, we need to hurry and get ready, I said. For a project this big, we must go all out. The next day, I began the intense preparations. First was expanding the staff. We needed more salespeople and project managers. Second is the construction of the supply chain. We must ensure materials arrive on time. Most important is quality control. We absolutely cannot make mistakes on such a critical project. I have drawn up a detailed project plan with clear time nodes and responsible parties for each stage. At the same time, I have also assigned dedicated quality inspectors to rigorously test every batch of materials. 1 week later, the project officially got underway. The first batch of materials arrived smoothly and all passed quality inspection. The project progressed very smoothly, but I knew Lucas Miller wouldn't let us off easily. Sure enough, problems arose in the second week. Several inspectors from the Quality Supervision Department suddenly arrived at the construction site. They said they had received a complaint alleging that there were problems with the quality of our materials. Is this batch of fireproof coating really up to class's standard? The inspector asked, pointing at our product. Of course. I took out the test report. This was issued by a national authoritative agency. The inspectors carefully reviewed the report and found no problems, but they still insisted on retesting. According to the regulations, we have the right to carry out random sampling tests. I agreed to their request. Although I have confidence in the product's quality, this kind of matter cannot be taken lightly. 3 days later, the test results came out. Our product not only met the A-level standard, but its various indicators also exceeded the requirements. The inspectors could only leave in chagrin. But this incident made me even more vigilant. I knew there had to be Lucas Miller's hand behind it. He couldn't take our project, so he was trying every trick to cause trouble. That night, I received a call from an unknown number. Ethan, I'm Lucas Miller. Say what you have to say. I said coldly, do you think getting this project means you've won? Lucas Miller's voice was menacing. I'm telling you, this is only the beginning. I have plenty of ways to make you unable to carry on. I sneered, is that so? Well, then I want to see what other tricks you have. Ethan, don't get too cocky. Lucas Miller gritted his teeth. You think hiding with your Robert will keep you safe? I'll make you know what regret means." After saying that, he hung up. I looked at my phone, a trace of coldness flashing my eyes. "Lucas Miller, do you think you're still the same person who could control me at will? This time, I won't give you any more chances." The next day, I began my counterattack. I had someone look into Lucas Miller's background, especially what he's been doing these past years with the Johnson family. At the same time, I began gathering evidence to prove his malicious interference with our project. My experiences in the last life taught me that with people like him, you can't just stay on the defensive. You have to strike proactively and strike to kill. I had a private investigator look into Lucas Miller's background, and it didn't take long to get results. It turned out that Lucas Miller wasn't without blemish over the years within the Johnson family. He had been secretly embezzling company funds for personal investments. He also exploited the Johnson family's connections to seek personal gain. Most importantly, he has secret dealings with several rivals and is suspected of leaking the Johnson family's trade secrets. This evidence is enough to make him lose his position within the Johnson family. But I haven't used this evidence yet. The timing isn't right. I will wait until the most critical moment to deliver a fatal blow. For now, my focus is still on doing the project well. Only by making the project a success can I fully prove my abilities. The Global Plaza project is progressing smoothly, and the quality of our materials has received unanimous praise. Even the technicians of the Johnson family privately admitted that our products were indeed good. This made Lucas Miller even more furious. He began to suppress us in other ways. For example, he used the Johnson family's connections to get some banks to tighten loans to us. They even had some suppliers deliberately delay deliveries to us. But these little tricks didn't cause us any fatal damage. I had long been prepared, with ample financial reserves and backup suppliers. Lucas Miller's tactics only ended up exposing his malice. 2 months later, the Global Plaza project was successfully completed. Our building materials passed all sorts of inspections. The quality was fully up to standard. The project owner was very satisfied with our performance and settled all remaining payments on the spot. More importantly, they said they were willing to continue cooperating with us on future projects. From this battle, we not only made money, but also made a name for ourselves. The status of Robert Building Materials in the industry has been significantly elevated. "Ethan, you really are the pride of the Johnson family," Robert said excitedly. "Now, even my old friends look at you with new respect." I smiled. "This is just the beginning, Robert. There's still much more we need to do." Indeed, the success of the Global Square project was only the first step in my revenge plan. Next, I'm going to let everyone know who the true Johnson family bloodline really belongs to. Just then, I received an unexpected invitation. It was from my alma mater, Bay City University. They were holding an alumni entrepreneurs summit and invited me to speak as a representative of young entrepreneurs. It was a great opportunity. I know Lucas Miller will attend this summit. The Johnson family is an important benefactor of Bay City University, and as the heir of the Johnsons, Lucas Miller will surely be present. This time, I will show him my strength on a bigger stage. The summit was held in the auditorium of Bay City University, and many well-known entrepreneurs attended. As a youth representative, I was seated in the front row. Lucas Miller sat on the podium as the summit's chief guest. When he saw me, a flicker of surprise and unease crossed his eyes. The summit began. The principal spoke first, followed by several well-known entrepreneurs. When it was my turn, enthusiastic applause broke out from the audience. Teachers, classmates, and entrepreneur friends, hello everyone. I stood on the podium and looked around the hall. I am Ethan, the general manager of Robert Building Materials. Today, I want to share with you a story about dreams and perseverance. I began recounting my entrepreneurial experience. Of course, I didn't mention being expelled from a Johnson family, instead emphasizing the hardships of starting from nothing. 1 year ago, I was just a recent college graduate with nothing. But I have a dream, to make something of myself in the building materials industry. So I followed Robert and started from the very bottom, hitting the market and negotiating with clients. It didn't matter that I had no connections or background. I relied entirely on my own abilities. The students in the audience listened intently, occasionally letting out exclamations of admiration. This year, our company took on the construction materials project for Global Plaza, valued at $150 million. The success of this project proves the capability of young people. It also proves that as long as you have dreams and perseverance, you will surely succeed. No sooner had the words fallen than thunderous applause erupted from the audience. Many classmates stood up and applauded for me. Lucas Miller's face looked very unpleasant. He hadn't expected me to receive such high praise on this occasion. The principal stepped onto the stage and shook my hand. "Ethan, you are the pride of Bay City University. To have accomplished so much at such a young age is truly impressive. The university has decided to appoint you as Bay City University's entrepreneurship advisor to guide students in starting businesses." This honor was both unexpected and delightful. Entrepreneurship mentor. This means I now have an official position at my alma mater, and I can influence even more young people. Lucas Miller couldn't sit still anymore. He knew that if I kept developing like this, I would soon surpass him. After the summit ended, Lucas Miller approached me. "Ethan, let's talk." Lucas Miller pulled me into a quiet corner. "Ethan, what do you want?" He got straight to the point. "What do you want?" I retorted. Lucas Miller gritted his teeth. "I know you hate me because I took your place. But things are already like this. Why keep fighting? As long as you're willing to stop, I can give you some compensation." I sneered coldly. "Compensation? Do you think I need your compensation?" Lucas Miller's expression changed. "Ethan, don't go too far. I admit you have some ability, but you can't shake the foundations of the Johnson family. If you're sensible, stop now. Otherwise, or what?" I cut him off. "Are you going to kick me out of Bay City?" Lucas Miller was left speechless. I'm no longer the person he could toy with at will. I have my own career, my own standing. He can't do anything to me. "Lucas Miller, I'm telling you." I looked at him coldly. "This is only the beginning. I'm going to take back everything that belongs to me, step by step. That includes the Johnson family and everything you've taken." Lucas Miller's face went pale. "You're insane. Crazy?" I laughed. "You're the one who drove me insane. Since you show no mercy, don't blame me for being ruthless." After saying that, I turned and left, leaving Lucas Miller there gnashing his teeth. Back at the company, I began planning my next move. The success of the Global Plaza project has brought us more opportunities. Many developers have proactively approached us, hoping to collaborate. Among them are several competitors of the Johnson family. This gave me a perfect opportunity. I can undermine the Johnson family's business by collaborating with their competitors. "Ethan, Global Group wants to partner with us." Robert brought over a contract. They plan to develop 20 projects nationwide, with huge demand for building materials. I took the contract and examined it carefully. Global Group is indeed a giant in the real estate industry. This partnership opportunity is very valuable. Moreover, Global Group has always been the Johnson family's main rival. Cooperating with them would undoubtedly be a major blow to the Johnsons. "Robert, we have to secure this deal," I said, "but we need to renegotiate the terms." I had an appointment with Global Group's purchasing director, Brian Thompson. Brian Thompson was a shrewd businessman in his 40s, quite influential in the industry. "Mr. Ethan, I've heard much about you." Brian Thompson greeted me warmly and shook my hand. "The Global Plaza project looks great." "Thank you for the compliment, Mr. Brian," I said. "Today I mainly want to understand Global Group's specific needs." Brian Thompson gave a detailed introduction to Global Group's procurement plan. 20 projects with total construction material demand of about $5 billion distributed across major cities nationwide. This is an unprecedented big order. However, Mr. Ethan, Brian Thompson shifted his tone. Global Group's requirements are also very strict. Not only must the quality be up to standard and the price reasonable, but there must also be nationwide supply capability. This is indeed a challenge. Although Robert Building Materials is developing rapidly, it's still somewhat of a stretch to cover the national market. "Mr. Brian, We can solve this problem, I said confidently. We can integrate the country's high-quality building material suppliers through an alliance. Standardize standards, unify management, and ensure quality and supply. Brian Thompson's eyes lit up. An alliance? That's an interesting idea. If it can be achieved, it would indeed be a very good option for Global Group. Over the next month, I began a nationwide rollout. I visited more than a dozen cities to negotiate partnerships with quality local building material suppliers. In the end, we established a building materials supply alliance covering the major cities across the country. The alliance members are strong local companies, coordinated and managed centrally by us. This model not only solved the supply capacity issue, but also greatly reduced costs. Brian Thompson was very satisfied with our proposal and signed a cooperation agreement on the spot. A $5 billion order officially landed in our hands. This news caused a huge shock within the industry. A company less than 2 years old actually managed to secure a $5 billion order. This is simply a miracle. The media reported widely, calling me the dark horse of the building materials industry. And the Johnson family faced an unprecedented crisis. Global Group was originally an important client of the Johnson family, but has now come into our arms. This was a fatal blow to the Johnson family. Lucas Miller was furious, raging through the company, but there was nothing he could change. Market competition is just this ruthless survival of the fittest. We won, they lost. More importantly, this is only the beginning of my counterattack. Next, I will make them fully understand what true strength means. The success of the Global Group project catapulted Robert Building Materials into a well-known company in the industry. Our annual revenue grew from the original tens of millions of dollars to over $1 billion. The company staff expanded from fewer than 50 people to more than 300. I was named one of Businessweek's top 10 young entrepreneurs of the year. At 26, I became the youngest among them. In media interviews, the reporter asked me the secret of my success. Persistence and focus, I answered, and the belief to never give up. Of course, I wouldn't tell them the real secret was memories from a past life. While giving the interview, I was also secretly laying out the next step of my plan. Although the Johnson family had been struck, they were not yet critically harmed. I needed to find a more fatal breakthrough. Through my investigations during this period, I had gathered a lot of dirt on Lucas Miller. But that's not enough. I want a single fatal blow. The opportunity came quickly. The Bay City government is going to undertake a large-scale urban renewal project. The required building materials exceed $10 billion, an unprecedented mega contract. The Johnson family will certainly bid. This is their best chance to turn things around. This is also my best opportunity to completely crush them. Ethan, the competition for this project will be fierce. Robert sounded a bit worried. The bidders are all the nation's top building material companies. Our chances aren't great. Robert, sometimes victory isn't determined solely by strength. I said with a mysterious smile. We have other advantages. I began secretly preparing the bidding proposal. This time, I was going to present an entirely new business model. Not just supplying building materials, but providing a complete set of solutions, including end-to-end services such as design, construction, supervision, and maintenance. This kind of integrated model was still rare at the time, but I knew this was the trend of the future. At the same time, I had prepared a secret weapon. Those are the undeniable proofs of Lucas Miller's illegal activities. If the Johnson family takes the lead in the bidding, I'll reveal this evidence at the crucial moment. Let them have their plans foiled. The bidding will take place at City Hall on an unprecedented scale. Building materials giants from all over the country have arrived, and the venue is packed. I am representing Robert Building Materials, and Lucas Miller is representing the Johnson family. The two of them regard each other from across the venue, the air thick with tension. Entrepreneurs, welcome to the bidding meeting for the Bay City Urban Renewal Project. The mayor personally presided over the meeting, indicating the importance of the project. This project has a total investment of $50 billion and the demand for construction materials is about $10 billion. We hope to find the best partners to jointly build the future of Bay City. The bidding officially began, and the companies took turns coming on stage to present. The earlier firms were all traditional building material companies, offering much the same solutions. When the Johnson family took the stage, Lucas Miller introduced them personally. Johnson Enterprises was founded 30 years ago and is a long-established company in Bay City. We have extensive experience, strong capabilities, and a complete supply chain. This time, we promise to offer the highest quality products at the most favorable prices. Lucas Miller's speech was very compelling, and applause broke out from the audience. Indeed, the Johnson family's strength was apparent. They were the favorites in this bid. When it was my turn, the murmurs from the audience grew louder. What surprises might young Ethan bring? Distinguished leaders, colleagues, hello. I stood on the stage, calm and unhurried. Today, on behalf of Robert Building Materials, I will introduce a brand new business model to you. We not only provide building materials, but also offer whole life cycle solutions. I gave a detailed introduction to the concept of integrated services, from project planning to design, procurement, construction, acceptance, and maintenance. We are responsible throughout. This model can greatly improve efficiency, reduce costs, and ensure quality. More importantly, it can avoid the hassle of coordinating multiple parties and clarify responsibilities. The judges in the audience brightened. This really was a very innovative idea. Of course, some will question our capabilities. I continued. Indeed, Robert Building Materials hasn't been around long, but we have the energy of youth. We have a nationwide supply alliance, and we have the most advanced management concepts. Most importantly, we have integrity. When I mention integrity, I deliberately glanced at Lucas Miller. Lucas Miller's expression changed. He seemed to have noticed something. Integrity is the foundation of a business, I continued. A company without integrity, no matter how large, won't go far. Conversely, an honest company, no matter how small, can grow big. Warm applause rose from the audience. My speech was over, but the real show was only just beginning. After the bidding meeting ended, the judges began their closed-door deliberations. As usual, the results would be announced 3 days later. During those 3 days, the companies were all operating secretly, hoping to secure the final victory. I didn't hurry to leave Bay City. Instead, I waited quietly. The next day, I received an unexpected call. It was Daniel Johnson. "Ethan, let's meet." His voice sounded a bit weary. I agreed. We arranged to meet at a quiet tea house. Daniel Johnson looked older than the last time we met, his eyes carrying deep fatigue. "Ethan, you've suffered over these years," he said straight away. I said nothing, just looked at him quietly. "I was too impulsive when I kicked you out back then," Daniel Johnson continued. "I should have investigated the situation first." "What is the point of saying this now?" I asked lightly. Daniel Johnson sighed. "I know you hate me, hate all of us. But Ethan, you are still a son of the Johnson family. This project is very important to the Johnsons, and I hope you can. Let me give up the bid." I interrupted him. Daniel Johnson nodded. "Ethan, the Johnson family is indeed in trouble right now. If we lose this project, the Johnson family might really—" "What does that have to do with me?" I said coldly. "I'm no longer part of the Johnson family." Daniel Johnson's face turned pale and flushed in turns. "Ethan, are you really going to be this heartless?" "Heartless?" I sneered coldly. "When you drove me out back then, did you ever think about what heartless means? Back then, when you believed Lucas Miller and wouldn't listen to my explanation, did you ever think about what heartless means?" Daniel Johnson was left speechless. "Mr. Johnson, if there's nothing else, I'll be going now." I stood up. "Ethan." Daniel Johnson became anxious. "Do you really have no regard for appearances at all?" I stopped, turned, and gave him a look. "Face? Have you ever shown me any face? Now you come begging me, it's too late." After saying that, I left the tea house without looking back. On the third day, the results were announced. Robert Building Materials won by a narrow margin. When the news came out, the whole industry was stunned. A company less than 3 years old had actually beaten an old established enterprise like the Johnson family. And the project it won was a 100 billion level mega project. This was simply a miracle in business history. The media swarmed in, wanted to interview me, the young man who created a miracle. Mr. Ethan, may I ask what your secret to success is? No secret, just persistently doing the right things. I answered. Some say you're a business genius. What do you think of that? Genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration. What are your thoughts on defeating an established enterprise like the Johnson family? This question is a bit sensitive, but I had long prepared my answer. Business is like war. Survival of the fittest is a natural law, I said calmly. I respect all competitors, including the Johnson family. However, competition is competition. It doesn't change because of personal feelings. The reporters were satisfied with my answer and hurriedly took notes. That evening, the celebratory banquet was held at the most luxurious hotel in the city. Government officials, partners, and media reporters all came to attend. I became the focus of the entire event. Everyone wanted to talk with this young business rising star. Mr. Ethan, you are truly young and promising. I didn't expect Bay City to have talent like this. If there's a chance in the future, we must work together. Various flattering words flowed without stop. I knew this was the charm of success. When you succeed, the whole world will fawn over you. When you fail, even your relatives may betray you. Just as the banquet reached its climax, an accident happened. Lucas Miller actually appeared at the banquet. He pushed through the crowd and walked straight toward me. Ethan, I have something to tell you, he shouted loudly. Everyone in the room stopped talking and looked at us. Say it in front of everyone, then. I replied calmly. Lucas Miller's eyes were red. He was clearly quite drunk. Do you think you've won? He pointed at me. Do you think that by defeating the Johnsons you can get everything? I'll tell you, you'll never truly gain the Johnson family's acceptance. Because you're not one of the Johnson bloodline at all. The room erupted. That sentence carried too much information. I looked at the frenzied Lucas Miller and knew he had been driven to desperation. It was time to deliver the fatal blow. Facing Lucas Miller's roar, I felt no anger. Instead, I smiled. Not a member of the Johnson bloodline? I repeated his words. Then what kind are you? Saying that, I pulled a document out of my pocket. Ladies and gentlemen, I have a very interesting piece of information in my hands. I held the document high so everyone could see it. This is a DNA test report. Lucas Miller's face went instantly ashen. The report shows that there is no blood relation between Mr. Lucas Miller and Mr. Daniel Johnson. In other words, he is not of the Johnson family's bloodline either. The entire audience erupted in uproar again. The real son of the Johnson family isn't of the Johnson bloodline, and the fake son of the Johnson family isn't of the Johnson bloodline either. What on earth is going on? Impossible. Lucas Miller shouted hysterically. This is fake. You forged it. If it's fake, you can run another test, I said calmly. However, I think everyone is more concerned about another matter. I took out another document. This is the evidence of Mr. Lucas Miller's crimes over the years. Embezzlement of company funds, leaking trade secrets, bribery, and corruption. Each item has detailed evidence. Lucas Miller completely fell apart. He hadn't expected I would possess so much dirt on him. Ethan, what exactly do you want? He asked in despair. What I want is simple. I said word by word. I want you to pay for everything you did to me in your previous life. Previous life? Lucas Miller froze. What are you talking about? I looked at his bewildered eyes and suddenly understood. Only I had been reborn. Lucas Miller did not have the memories of his previous life. In other words, he did not know what had happened in that past life. But that did not matter. In this life, he still hurt me. It will cost you as well. It's nothing, I said. In short, your good days are over. Having said that, I turned to everyone present. Ladies and gentlemen, you've all seen what happened today. Mr. Lucas Miller is suspected of multiple crimes, and the relevant authorities will soon intervene to investigate. As for the Johnson family matters, those are their domestic affairs, and I am not in a position to say more. However, I can tell everyone clearly that I, Ethan, conduct myself with integrity. My success is due to my ability, not my background. Thunderous applause erupted from the audience. Everyone present was stunned by this brilliant performance. Business battles were so fierce, so brutal, so spectacular, and I became the ultimate winner of this struggle. The next day, the news was everywhere. The business warfare legend of the real and fake Johnson family heirs. The comeback road of young entrepreneur Ethan. Feud within the Johnson family. Lucas Miller accused of crime. Various reports kept emerging, and Lucas Miller had already been taken away by the authorities for investigation. What awaited him was the severe punishment of the law. The Daniel Johnson couple were also devastated by the news. They never expected that the son they had raised for years was not their own blood, and he was a criminal. What hurt them even more was that their real son had been pushed into opposition by their own hands. Amanda Johnson cried as if her life depended on it, and Daniel Johnson's hair turned white overnight. They came to apologize to me, to beg for my forgiveness. But I refused. Some hurts, once inflicted, cannot be undone. Some mistakes, once made, cannot be forgiven. In this life, I don't need their love, nor do I need their apologies. I only need their regret. 3 months later, Lucas Miller was sentenced to 10 years. The Johnson family, having lost an important project and facing various lawsuits, soon went bankrupt. The once glorious Johnson family has completely collapsed, and I have become the most successful young entrepreneur in Bay City. Robert Building Materials has also developed into a nationally renowned large enterprise. But I was not satisfied because of that. This is just a new beginning in my life. I will build my own business empire. I will become a true powerhouse. I will make everyone know what it means to be reborn from the ashes. Standing by the office floor-to-ceiling window, looking down at the city below, I remembered that desperate rainy night from my previous life. My former self, driven out of the Johnson family, like a dog bereft of a home. If back then I had known that 3 years later I would achieve what I have today, would he still have been so despairing? The answer is no, because as long as you have dreams and don't give up, anyone can change their destiny. Even starting from the very bottom, you can climb to the highest peak. This is the charm of life. This is the meaning of striving. I turn back to my desk and continue handling work. Tomorrow is another new day, another new challenge, but I'm already ready, because I am Ethan Johnson, a man who will never be knocked down.